Here we
Hello.
are.
Hi.
We did it. We did it.
Yay! Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because for a second it said that my audio was out, so I wanted to make sure. Hello, everyone. Jeanette, you want to kick us off today?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Well, this is our episode 30, and we have a special guest, Tamara Grand Art from Canada. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
She was our original inspiration for doing our live chats and doing something like this. So she'll hopefully always be on. We'll always have her as a guest. And
Yes.
she is a beautiful abstract artist living in Canada. And go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Well, just a quick reminder that my co-host of No Brush Required, Barb Reed, was supposed to be with us today. And unfortunately, she couldn't because her condo is experiencing jackhammering on all the balconies. And it's like torture, she said, so much noise that she can't be in the condo. So she wasn't able to join us for the live stream. So and that was the live stream where we first met you guys. So myself and Barbara co-host a show on Instagram. We've been doing it for almost 2.5 years now.
Wow.
We have guests on every week, and you guys have both been guests on our show, and we just have a really good time chatting with other artists and finding about their practices and getting book recommendations and cocktail recommendations and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I live in Vancouver, BC, so just up the coast from both of you guys. We're all on the West Coast and the Pacific. And I am an abstract artist, primarily a painter, although I do dabble in mixed media as well because I love paper and making paper and adding paper to my paintings.
Great. And you have a website where you can go and anybody can check out your art. And then you're in a show right now, right?
I've got work in a few shows right now. It's
great.
been a really good season of good feedback for putting yourself out there. I know we've talked about this, like if you don't throw spaghetti at the wall, nothing's ever going to stick. So you have to just keep trying these things. And I have work in a couple of local shows on Vancouver, Granville Island at the Federation Gallery shows. Canadian, I can't even think of what their name is now. The Federation of Canadian Artists.
Nice.
I work in 2 shows right now down there, and I have had work in a local brew pub called Brave.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting experience, having your work out in the public in a setting where people aren't really coming to look at art. Changes their interaction with it. But I have to say, it's been a great experience for me so far. So
good. Well, that leads us into our conversation for today, which is social media and trying to grow your audience just with social. And we've all kind of noticed a drop, right, in the natural growth that used to happen when you were posting reels. And now, as far as I'm concerned, and I know Tamara talked about this, it seems to me like it's just died. Like there's nothing going on with that natural surge. So the question is then, how as artists, we still have to continue the slog of posting every couple days or every day or however you have it scheduled. But, you can't not do that, but it is a slog. And if you're not getting any results,
yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our conversation is about today.
Well, I like to kind of preface it by, it's easy to get down on social media and feel like you're trying all the things and nothing's working for you. But I like to remind myself that these are free resources that we have out there for us. And so they're free platforms to use. And even though our audience might not be growing at the rate that we would like it to be or that it used to, the point is you still, and we'll say, oh, I've only got 2,000 followers on Instagram or something, when we're used to seeing these big accounts with, 75,000, 100,000. But you've got 2,000 people who clicked follow on your profile, and even 10% of them are seeing what you're doing on a regular basis. That's way more people than are seeing your work when you're just in your studio.
Have you done the verification thing on Instagram?
I haven't, for a couple of reasons. One, I'm kind of annoyed that you have to pay to play on what used to be a free, completely free platform.
Yeah.
And, the argument is that you're not paying to play. What you're doing is you're paying for help if your account gets hacked, right? Because they'll answer you more quickly in theory. That's what I've been told. But who's to say whether or not it's not also helping your algorithm out? Like that's some people
Right.
I've spoken to have said they're on it because they figure you get the blue check mark and then it's going to be, they'll be pumping your posts out to a
Content.
wider audience. I don't know if that's true. And Instagram's kind of cagey, I think, sometimes about revealing what they're doing. They say we don't have an algorithm. Well, that's not true. Of course
Yeah.
they do.
Right.
So I'm not right now, mainly because I don't feel like I want to add another monthly expense to my studio practice, because we know how they add up, your newsletter and your art rooms and your Streamyard and all of these other
Yeah.
things that we're paying month by month by month for. And it would be nice to see a return on that investment.
Yeah, I'm going to
Mhm.
start asking everybody that, because I am curious to see if somebody is on it, if they're getting more exposure, as
I think
part of
but how do they tell? Unless you're really diligent with analytics and keep track of all that and understand why certain posts of yours are getting good traction and why some aren't, it's very hard to actually say. That's the scientist in me coming out, right?
Yeah.
You got to have
Yeah.
a lot of data to be able to say anything about it. You can't just kind of go on a feeling.
Right. I mean, you can make
Well,
assumptions.
and I feel like if I were to do it, though, I personally would be able to tell if it were working if I started to gain more followers, because I'm still in such a growth phase, right? Of compared to other accounts that we follow. So if all of a sudden, if I did the blue check and I got constantly new people coming in, then it might be like, oh, well, maybe, but it's still not definitive, right? You're still guessing if it's working or not. So
Yeah.
I wanted to pop off on what you were saying about social media in general, of not bashing it, and like remembering that yes, it's frustrating, because we are trying to grow and we're doing the things to grow, but it is such a magical time with social media that the average artist can create a business that could be profitable and that can be seen, whereas if we were only trying to get into galleries all the time, that's such a small window that yes, we can get on the train of the negativity about all the stuff that we're doing and we're not getting any return, but we really kind of are, because even if I have 800 followers right now, right? And I think about what Jody King always says, which is it's about quality versus quantity, right? So yes, maybe someone might have 5,000 followers, but if you're not nurturing them, and you'd rather have 800 that were totally into, like, what did she say, that sunshine comes out of your butt? That's one of her sayings. Of like, they just think that the sun rises and sets on everything that you're doing. You can still, I think, have a great business with less people if they're the right people.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you have to remind yourself too of when we use social media, oftentimes and I'm guilty of this. Other artists I've talked to are guilty of it. We're using it for more than one thing. Yes, we're using it for business and to attract collectors, but we're also talking to other artists, which is how we met. And so you have this, and artists buy art. So you have this kind of audience that overlaps and does a lot of different things for you. And sometimes it's a good idea to sit back and say, okay, who is this post that I'm posting for? So if my goals are to build more community on Instagram around artists and art lovers, then I'm going to post a certain type of content. If I really want to sell my work, then and my audience is not purchasing my work, then I need to find a way to either change how I'm interacting with them as sellers, not as fellow artists, or I need to grow a bigger audience. I need to reach not a bigger audience, but I need to reach a more diverse audience. I have to find those people who are looking to buy my art, and I have to talk to them as opposed to talk to artists.
Right. Well, we did a show about art shows.
Mhm.
So, and Terry's got one coming up in the fall. I did one last summer, but
Mhm.
that is a very good way to get to know customers and meet them in person, because as people come by your booth and you get to talk to them, maybe get them on your email list, like that is definitely a place to go to get possible new customers. What has
Mhm.
your experience been with that? And like, have you gotten more people on your email list from being in shows? Talk to us a little bit about what you've done with that.
Sure. These big group shows that I've been getting into with the Federation of Canadian Artists, they don't add to my profile at all. People do not. People they go to their gallery, they look at the work in the gallery. Their sales aren't great, so I see it as more of an exposure and a notch on
Mhm.
my CV, and
Yeah.
more social proof. My work's getting into juried shows, and so I can report that to people who care about that and who need to hear that in order to buy work. Those people are not following, they're not showing up on my newsletter. They're not showing up on my email list. They're not necessarily even showing up on my social media, because
Are
they're going
those
to a show and they're
are
looking
those
at,
are those online shows or in-person shows?
they're in-person shows. They have an online component as well that
Okay.
they market, and the artists are encouraged to market. So that type of show hasn't done anything for me in terms of audience growth, but it does check off the bucket of professional activities and increasing your professional profile. That's why I do those, with the hope that at some point a piece might sell because it's out in front of a live audience in a different way. Um, the local work that I've done. So I was in. So the Art Shuffle is a local community event that I was on the organizing committee for this year, and it's a one day event that pairs up, that businesses and artists are on a map, and everyone comes out in the community and shuffles around the community to these 20 different venues, and there's all sorts of artwork on display. Some of the venues already had art and artists associated with them. These would be like coffee shops, government office, sewing supply shop, those sorts of places.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them brought artists in just for the evening. So we had over 100 artists. And that coincided with my show at Brave, which is at the brewing company that I'm at. So I was their in-house artist for the evening. So I had a table set up. It was my first experience with having to stand out in front of my work, in front of people, and talk about it and sell it and promote it. And I did a live painting demo. So I kind of, I don't do things by small steps. Like if I'm in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So that was actually a really good experience. So I sold a small number of pieces. I wasn't expecting to sell a lot from that evening, which was fine. My goal again was more about getting things out there, but I did make some sales on the evening and then afterwards. And I ended up with about 20 new names on my email list because I had a sign up sheet.
That's
so
great.
that's those, I think those are wins, because I think that those are warm customers, warm people who already know you, have chatted with you, have seen your work
Yes.
in person, and are much more likely to want to stay connected with you than a random person on the internet, right?
Right.
I don't know if I will do that again. I think next year we'll see. It was really hard to be on the organizing committee and being an artist and doing an activity for that evening. I didn't get to see the rest of the event, all the other venues and all the amazing things that were going on that I'd been involved with the planning of. So I'm on the fence whether I want to participate as an artist next year or whether I just want to float and kind of get a sense of what the event was actually like for people who participated.
We had Lee Morrison on, and she had said that she's going to give it 2 times. Each show, like go at least twice, unless it's a total, right away it's a disaster or it's not going to work. But then that way, because you never know, it may be different on the second time or the first time. Sure. So I thought that was a good, if you can afford to do that, I thought that was a good thought behind to try each thing twice before you make your decision.
Yeah, well, you have to see if it's the right fit for you, and you also have to recognize that from one year to the next, the audience could be very different, right? For political climate, weather, these things are outside. So if the weather doesn't cooperate, you get a lot of people staying home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So then art shows is one, social media is one. what about your email? Have you been consistent about doing your emails, and tell us what's going on in that realm?
Sure. I am very consistent with my emails. And that's because a previous business I ran was an online fitness business, and the email was what was driving everything, because this was back before everybody was on Instagram and Facebook. And so that was really driving it. And I like to write, which helps a lot. I know a lot of people, when it comes to writing emails, they don't know what to say. They don't feel comfortable putting pen to paper and writing. I love to write. And that's actually one of my biggest challenges when I send an email, is they're often kind of lengthy. Because I have a hard time being, I mean, I get emails from people and they're bullet lists, and I'm like, that's great. That's 5 really useful things. But I often want more. And I must say, when people send long-winded emails that are like a nice little personal essay, and it comes once a month or once every few weeks, if they write well and they're talking about something interesting, I will sit down with a cup of coffee and I will read it. Okay. So, and I have found that my readers are the same. I did a course last year with Helen Perry. She has a newsletter course, an online course. She's a UK online business coach, and she often has really great, to the point, short. Her emails are great. She sends them out once a week. But one of the things that she talked to us all about was they need to be no longer than 300 words. And I'm laughing because my first 2 paragraphs are 300 words and I haven't said anything. Right. And then I want to talk about my shows, and I want to talk about no brush required. And I want to talk about something that's a little meaty. I like to write a little mini essay that you can't do on Instagram.
Right.
So it creates a connection. So I was able to put everything she suggested into motion, except that. And I said, you know what? No, my readers, I get a dozen replies to every email I send out.
That's good.
Where people just and continue a conversation with me. And some people will go back and forth, 4 or 5 emails back and forth. And it's like we're having this great little conversation about whatever that little essay that month I wrote was. So I decided I'm doing it my way, which is once a month, I send out an email to my whole list, and it's got, I recap it at the top. I have a little, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I have like a little four pictures at the top that says in this email, and it gives like 10 words about the 4 things that you're going to look at. So if you don't have time to read the whole thing, you can scroll down to whichever part you want. Great. First part is always an essay. It's always a conversation. This summer, I talked about art sales slumps. That got a lot of response from other artists, those kinds of things. And I ask questions and people get back to me about them. So I find it's growing slowly, but I feel like I have an authentic audience who really likes what I'm sending. And when I look at my analytics, I get open rates on my emails of 70% and above, which I learned in an email course that, most people get 20%. So I'm thinking,
or 10 is, I think, industry standard.
Yeah. So what email platform are you using? Just as a side note?
I use MailerLite right now, and I'm under 1,000 subscribers, so it's free and it's very easy to use. I quite like it. I've created templates, so every month I just go in and I take the template and I put in the things that I need to put in. So, and I enjoy it. So it's been good for me. And then I do use it to sell as well. Sometimes I will, in addition to that once a month, I will put an extra email out if there's something specific. And I'm playing a little bit with this because in the past I've put the sales right in the body of that big email. And and from click-throughs, I'm not getting as many people clicking through to whatever the offer is. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. Last week's email for the month went out, and it had a little preview of an offering that was going to be coming out next week. Here's the page on my website you can look at if you can't wait. Right. But there'll be a separate email that comes out next week about that offer, which is great. So I've whetted people's appetite. And then I've also basically given them permission, if they're really not interested, to not read next week's email.
Yeah.
Right. Without turning them off, because every email they're getting has salesy things in it.
Of course.
Do you send your email out the same day, the same time of the month? No. Okay.
Nope. I'm random. I should be more experimental about it and keep track of it, because I've heard so many different things. Some people say send it out on Sunday because people have time to sit and read. Don't send it out Monday morning because people come into work and they've got too much on their plate. If you want people to buy things from you, send it out Thursday at lunchtime. But those things are great. But when you have an audience that's global, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Because noon on Thursday for me is 8 p.m. for somebody in the UK. So I've kind of I usually send it out during the week, usually mid-morning during the week, and always when I'm able to reply, when I'm at the computer. So if I get responses right away, I can do something about it. And sometimes those responses are like, that link didn't work. So you want to catch that right away and send it. Oops, I'm sorry, ignore the last email. Here's the one with the link. You don't want to send your email out when you're on holiday and you're out of cell phone service. And
so one quick question, because I want to hear about what your offer is going to be that you mentioned, but have you done anything that has gotten you, besides the in-person show, which we talked about, have you done anything else to promote people signing up on your email list that was successful?
The answer to that would be no.
Okay.
Quick answer.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure how else to go about it. I mean, I know I haven't done any free offerings. I know some people will do that. I must say I'm really jaded about that because, I don't want a free PDF of your top 10 ways to fold paper. I mean, most of the time I just don't want those things.
Yeah.
And I know some people do, but it doesn't feel like my audience, that's what I would want to be offering my audience.
Right. And I think it depends on the person, on what you like. That's what you could offer versus someone else. And then that also brings your audience to you because it's people that like what you're doing.
True.
Regardless. Yeah. I've done free downloads for screensavers of my art. That's been, like sometimes I'll get one or two from that, but that's okay. That's something. Terry, have you tried any?
Somebody who likes art. You're getting someone who likes art. I've seen a lot of artists who I follow, their freebies are to other artists. And I don't want to market myself as a teacher of other artists. I want so I feel like you're a little careful in what your offering is if your goal is to have more people collect your art.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Unless your goal is to be a teacher, but I don't think any of us are really there right now. But Jeanette, to answer your question, so we're actually in the process of and we're leaving in the morning to go down to Sun River, and on the way there I'm going to read the book to Tony in the car of the Freedom Formula book about doing a funnel and giving away a free print and, working through all of that. So we are going to try that. And so we've put all of the things in place behind it, right? And then the next thing is going to be that Tony will build the funnel to actually do it. And then we're going to just see what happens. So I would say so we've got Instagram and Facebook, right? So on Instagram, I think that most of my followers are probably other artists. And on Facebook, most of my followers or community is going to be like family, friends, and people that know me personally through my life and through my other career. So when I put that out there, I think that will have an effect as well, right? Because if I have a larger group of people that are into art, then they're going to take advantage of it because they actually want art. Whereas if on Instagram, it might not be as well if it's all artists and they're not necessarily looking for more art. They might be, but because artists do buy. But so we're still figuring out the logistics of advertising for that as well, because you have to advertise it and put it out there, which is why we want to have all of our ducks in a row behind the scenes, on the website and email and all of those things so that it's a seamless transition. But so we'll see. And that'll be another show that once we do it, we can come back and talk about how that goes. But
It's
there's
a
a
lot.
lot of work that goes into the background of it. I've seen other people that have done it and they just put it out there willy-nilly, and that's fine, but that's just not how we operate. So I want to, if I'm going to put the energy into it and do it, I want to make sure that I'm going to get the most bang for my buck on the end of it, or at least give it the best shot that I can get the most bang for my buck, right?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
Well, and then you need to think about, are you going to do sponsored posts on Facebook? Because
Yes.
if you learn how to do that, I mean, you have to do a lot of research on that, because
Yes.
narrowing down that audience is really crucial. Otherwise, you're spending money, but it's not really doing anything
Right.
for you. But some people
Yes.
are very successful at sponsored posts if they niche down, do the research, figure out exactly who their demographic that they're marketing to is. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janet Little was another artist we had on and was talking to us a little bit about that she's had some successes getting new customers from that. So see, all these ideas are so good because it may trigger something in somebody else who's watching it, and maybe they can try something and then reach out to us and let us know if it worked or didn't work for you and what you think the reasoning is. We would love to hear. And then Tamara, you said you had another offer that you were going to try. Now tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, about 3 months ago, I decided to launch a subscription club.
Yeah.
I'm a knitter. And I've been knitting for like 50 years almost. And I love to knit socks, and hand dyed sock yarn is my favorite. And you have all these indie dyers who are artists in and of their own right, who are selling their wares. Now, a skein of sock yarn is about $30, which is fine, right? Because to knit a sweater, it's going to cost you a couple $100. So some of my favorite sock yarn dyers offered these clubs where once a month you'd pay in advance for 3 months worth. Once a month, you would get a surprise, and it would be a colorway that nobody else was going to get, that they were just experimenting and playing with, and it would show up at your door. And so I thought, wouldn't that be kind of fun to try with art?
I used to get those. I want to throw that out there. I used to do quilting. So I would be the fat quarters, the monthly fat quarter, and you'd get fat quarters of fabrics that you didn't know you were getting or what the colors were. It was kind of just random and fun. And it was kind of like a present that you weren't expecting. So it was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think of it as kind of two ways. The one thing is it allows you to sample the wares of someone whose work you don't know for a small fee. And then maybe you'll like it. And for me, I would maybe want to buy a sweater's quantity worth of that yarn, or somebody might want to buy a bigger piece of art. The other thing it does is it allows the creative person, you're basically being a patron, right? You're giving them money. So they've got that money coming in for 3 months, and you're supporting the creative work that they're doing behind the scenes while they're building their next big thing, while they're exploring and playing and figuring out how they're going to translate that into something that they could offer
So
the consumer.
are you on Patreon then?
No, I'm not. So no, I said as a patron. So like the old school days, right? So artists would have patrons, a wealthy person who would pay for their living expenses so they could just be painting, right? Without any expectation or knowing what was going to show up. So I was thinking of this as kind of a patronage. So I started this thing called the We Works of Art Club. The idea being that you'd sign up for a 3-month stint, and once a month you would get mailed a small piece of original art that's based on whatever my current month's exploration is. And it might be something on a wooden block. It might be on paper. It might be on canvas. You don't know. It's going to be a different color palette. There's no previews. Nobody else is getting this same art. It might lead to bigger and more in-depth endeavors on mine, but it might not. It might just be a little monthly dead end. And that's how I pitched it, as the same as the sock club yarn. So, I did the work I think I should have done for preparing my audience for it, but sometimes we don't do enough because it feels like we're shouting when we advertise a lot.
Right.
Yeah. I had two subscribers. So 2 people took me up on my offer the first time around, which at first I was like, oh, that's a lot of work for 2. But then I thought, okay, 2's better than 0. Let's see how it goes. And so for each of the last 3 months, I've done that. And the response from those 2 collectors has been wonderful. They great feedback. They love the things that I've sent them. I probably went a little over the top and did more than what I promised, because over delivering is never a bad thing in terms of the quality of the work and the size of the work.
Right.
And so I decided that it was a small first offering. I'm going to do another 3 months and see how it goes. So I sent that out to my newsletter list today because they get first dibs. I put a cap of 10 spaces on it because what I don't want to be doing is turning my studio time into a factory where now I've got 100 4x4 squares because I've got 100 people in my month on my We Works of Art monthly club, and I don't have time to do the work that I want to do. So I decided I'm going to cap it at 10 because that gives me my play time. And I will say these We Works are all things that I'm doing in the background anyways.
Well,
paper.
The thing is your customers are getting original pieces of art. And if you do cap it at 10, to me, that makes it even more special because not everybody's going to be able to get in. It's not just about having a monthly membership. It's about supporting the artists, having original art that they get that no one else is ever going to see or get.
Yes.
And
although I want other people to see it. What I want my collectors to do is I want them all to take pictures of what they receive and put it on social media and tag me.
Right.
Yes. But you have to train them to do that. You have to, and the train is a terrible word, but you have to coach them through, doing that because people don't know. I mean, they don't even know to like things or subscribe or share, so you have to talk them through that. And I was going to say, when you were talking about, so you had 2 people sign up and you thought your first was, and then you thought, no, this is good. 2 is good. I think that social media makes us feel like things happen really fast and really easy all the time. And we have to remember as entrepreneurs that things go much slower in real life and they take a lot of behind the scenes work. If it were easy and it just happened, then everybody would be doing it. But it takes hard work and consistency and showing up and putting it out there and doing it again and again, and then it builds on itself. So I'll be curious, and I would love for you to message us. We have our group thing, because whenever you come back on, but in the meantime, message us. So just for my curiosity of how you do this time, and then you do it again, and then how organically it's going to grow. And I think that it will, because that's how things work.
Well, and I love the fact that it's a way for people who like your art to support you so you can get more of your art. And I love that angle of it, as well as the surprise of getting something original in the mail. That is also super fun. So I love the way you're positioning that and talking about it, because to me it's a byproduct of what you're already doing with your exploration of trying new things, but it's also a way for someone to support you in that and still get something for themselves that's original. I think it's a win-win.
It's a great idea.
I'm hoping that grows for you, and I'm hoping that works.
Yeah, well, I'll be opening it up to my non-subscribers, I think Friday. I think I'll give my subscribers 2 days. And then all you need to do is go to my website, tamaragrand.com. Nice and easy. Details there if anybody's interested. So
okay. Put your web address in the chat too. Just
in the comments. In the comments.
Can people see it later?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the comments will show up when we look at your face. So easy. Yeah.
Oh, and then Tamara, to change the subject just a little bit, you had said something to me when we were talking about having you come on about that now on Instagram, you can also put in 5 links.
At the top. Yeah.
Yes. Isn't that great? I forget who passed that on to me. Another artist mentioned that. I heard it in a podcast last week, I think. And you know how you could only usually put one. So we were all using Linktree, which is so annoying, and
it's another step.
Yeah, so you can put 5 in now. So did you guys already update yours?
I didn't yet, but I got to. I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will. So I added my website, my YouTube. I just donated a piece of art to an auction that's coming up. So I added the auctions link directly to it. So anybody can go and bid on that. And I'm going to add in my week works of art page once that opens on Friday.
Perfect. Perfect. I love that.
Excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear.
Terry, put the name of that book in the chat too, the one you mentioned that talks about the free print, because somebody may want that info too.
Can I give a little plug for somebody else's book right now? So this fits exactly with what we've been talking about. I don't know if you guys know the artist Susan Washington.
No.
Susan Washington Art. You should know Susan. Her work is stunning.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful work. But she's just written this book. It's called The Art of Selling Art, Empowering Artists for Financial Freedom. And this has got tons of actionable things in it. And her focus is on selling online, including Instagram, which is what has been so helpful for her. And it is very current. It just came out. She even includes threads in here. So, you know, she's on top of her game in terms of what's going on. And some of the things she's talked about, including what we just mentioned, Terry, training your collectors to share with their family and friends to widen the circle of your artwork. One of the things she does when she sends a painting off is she includes a handwritten note, which we all probably do. But what she asks her collectors to do, which I'm going to start doing, is if you don't mind, would you please send me a photo of the work once it's in situ so I can share? And would you mind sharing it online and tagging me in the photo? Because people don't think to do that.
I know.
Right. And so if my sister buys a painting from me and she does that, now everybody in her sphere is going to see that painting and they might not have known that I was an artist.
Okay. Put that book title in the chat.
Okay, wait. But not in the chat, in the comments.
Oh, in the comments.
The chat, the chat went to a private chat and no one can see that. So that's why I just typed myself, your TamaraGrand.com.
Okay.
So do it in the comments. We just learned something new here in real time. I was like, what is a private chat? Because it came up with a little thing, like I had one. So, okay. And then the Freedom Formula is the name of that book that you asked me to put in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Did that work? Did I get that in there right?
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Great. Yeah, I'm loving this book. I'm actually thinking, so do you guys know Rena Diana? She's a friend of mine as well. You've probably seen her on our chat. I met her in New York City last summer. She's lovely. I have a piece of her art. We get along great. She's a friend of Susan Washington's and they're in the same show right now. So she was recommending this book to me. And I said to her after I'm like halfway through it in one sitting, there's tons of like things to do, checklists, things to go out and do in terms of your social media accounts, your newsletter, finding your ideal, not really finding your ideal client, but niching down on what your art is about and what it says to people and ways of, boiling that sort of stuff down.
Yeah, I need that.
I was thinking we need to have a little homework group where we work through and then everybody gets together once a month on Zoom and says, okay, I did the first 3 things this month.
I want to do it.
Okay.
I want to do it. I want to be in the group.
Set something like that up. But you should. I highly recommend the book because it's very different from a lot of the other things I've read and seen that try to give advice to how to promote yourself and your brand on social media, because they're not related to art. They're not art specific, and art's very different. 20 years of experience promoting herself this way and through galleries and working with artists who are asking her all these questions about branding. And it's very to the point. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Boy, we got some good info on this one.
Well, we have her coming on No Brush Required this fall.
Good.
Yay. Okay, awesome.
Good. Well, we'll definitely want to watch that one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things. Is there anything else that you guys want to mention for our other artists that you think would be something to try or you're thinking of trying? Or
and I'll tell you, because I was asked this question. I'm on Threads. I don't know if you guys
tell us
on Threads right away. So
okay.
Threads
I'm
is
on, but I'm not on.
Okay. It's a new app by Instagram. I think it's been out for about 2 months now. And what it was designed to do is replace Twitter, because Twitter is exploding or imploding or whatever, right?
Right.
And I don't know if you guys remember, I was on Twitter back in 2008 when it was a really friendly place and you had these really great organic conversations with people. And because of the way the comments kind of weave in and out, you can see all the people that are having a conversation, right? And Instagram, if someone comments on your post, you comment back, and nobody really comments on the first person's comment. It's not a conversation. It's a back and forth between you and each person. At least I've noticed that.
Right.
On Threads, it's a much more interwoven conversation. I put up a thread, somebody replies to it, somebody else will reply to that first person that replied. I'll come back in. The conversation will kind of come back and forth, and everybody can see it and join in the conversation very easily. It was not designed to be a visual platform like Instagram, but it is. And people are saying, oh, I'm only going to post text here, like on Twitter originally, but Twitter turned to video and static photos as well. But I am noticing that anything I post without a photo gets way less interaction and engagement than things that I post with a photo. But what I'm loving about it is it's very organic in terms of the conversations that you're having with people. People are spontaneous. It's kind of like what stories used to be, where you'd be like, here's a picture of my coffee. I'm sitting outside having a coffee. This is what Threads is. So some people are still using it the way they would Instagram or Facebook and are using it more as a marketing tool. But a lot of people are just coming on to have spontaneous conversations in the middle of the day. And I've met a ton of really interesting people who were not in my Instagram world, which is kind of cool, right? So, and artists, non-artists, people in architecture, people who are interested in social change. So there's no hashtags. You can't search. So you find people by, I don't know, I guess an algorithm starts to tell it what you like. You can post photos, but the thing I love about the photos is there's no cropping. They post them exactly the format that you put them up. And there's no, you don't have a feed. Not on it like on Instagram, where you open up Instagram and you go to someone's feed or their page and you see their 9 squares. And there's that pressure for it to be curated and for it to look nice, and, you know, not to have a photo of your foot when you got a pedicure on there if you're an artist or whatever, right? So there's no curation of it because people don't see it like that. All they do, if they look under your account and click on your threads that you've initiated, it's like Twitter. They just see a list of the things that you've typed in. They're not seeing that beautiful grid. So I find it really freeing as a place to just pop on, have some conversations. Don't worry about the quality of the photo that I'm posting, or if it's an in the moment photo and how it's going to affect my algorithm and my feed. It's been great so far. So.
Okay. Do you feel like you have to be, in order to get, like, you're just talking random things and you're getting people engaged with you?
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to talk about art, and I don't cross post. Like, I don't post the same thing that I posted on Instagram that on Threads. Just like you shouldn't do that with Facebook and Instagram either, because they're completely different beasts. And you know, what works on Facebook isn't what works on Instagram. And so, you know, sometimes I get lazy and I do the automatic cross post too, and I notice nobody looked at it on Facebook.
Okay.
So I try to post different things, but on the same themes. So, you know, if I'm working on something, packaging up artwork to send off on Instagram, it'll be a nice little video or post and some little important thing for people to take away. On Threads, it'll just be like, you know, the empty roll. I ran out of tape, the empty roll of tape kind of thing. Or do you know what I mean? So it's more in the moment.
So you do it when you can respond right away to if somebody comments, right? You want to have that.
I don't even worry about that. I honestly, I don't worry about that. I'm not treating Threads as my primary platform. I'm treating it as a little side gig that's kind of fun.
Okay.
And, no pressure. I don't feel the sense of, oh my gosh, if I don't post for a week, people will forget about me, where I do feel that on Instagram.
Right. So basically Threads can be where I just always have these random thoughts that I just want to put out.
Yes.
That's where you just do it, and who cares?
And people love it. Terry, honestly, like, you know, what's going on in your head right now? They love it.
Which is so weird. I was never into Twitter just because, I don't know, I just never got into it. And so I signed up for Threads because I felt like I was going to miss out if I didn't, because I missed out on Instagram. I just didn't get on board. I spent all my time building Facebook, which is why I have a bigger platform there. But so I just I focused on one, but then I had to start from absolute scratch 2 years ago on Instagram. So to be at 800 right now feels really great, because I earned every single one of those people that like what I'm doing, because I put in the homework, but so to add Threads in, it's like, oh, I don't know where it fits. I'm just figuring out my Instagram, which on my Instagram, I'm doing the exact opposite of everything that you just said. But I just am like, I don't care. I don't care about the algorithm anymore. I don't care about if my feed looks great. I don't care what 9 boxes you see. If you want to know what I'm doing, look at what I put out. And if you didn't, oh, well, and it's probably why I'm not growing. But you guys are curating and doing that too, and we're not growing. So it's like, we're trying to fit into these boxes of what everyone's telling us we have to do in order to grow, and it's not working. So I'm just going to do me. And I just don't know where Threads fits into that yet. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, and it's a time commitment too. And people say, oh, I need a social media app, like I need a hole in my head, right?
I know. Just thinking about how to add it in or how to make it fit strategically is way too much for my brain to take on, because I'm still feeling weird and guilty about the fact that I'm not curating my Instagram. And I'm feeling like, ooh, I'm being a rebel because I'm just going out doing my own thing. And so now to add in Threads, oh my gosh, it's so much.
Your Instagram looks great. So
but I'm not doing anything other than just posting.
Yeah. But when I say curating, I'm talking about people who you go on their 9 and it's got this beautiful grid like every other one.
Yes.
And they've got a color palette. I have never done that.
No.
Too much planning and organization, but I do pay attention to Jody King's thing about the 3 P's: person, process, and
me too.
What's the P? Product. Person, process, and product. I don't think a painting is product.
And trying to mix that in throughout it. Yes. And I finally broke down and was like, okay, you've got to have some sort of strategy. You can't just all be willy-nilly, because I felt like I was all over the place, and that was making me feel chaotic. So I realized that like my stories is like my friends. That's where my life is. I'm posting things about what's happening in my life, and my friends go there. And then inside of the feed is like some posts about process and then some about selling. And so it's like I kind of finally figured out that's working for me. I'm growing super slow, but it is what it is. It doesn't sound like from our conversation that no matter what we did right now, I think that Instagram is just in charge of whatever they're doing, and we can't control it. Right?
Well, right. And Tamara said that she's having fun doing Threads because she's having fun doing the conversations. So I think that's the key. I think if you find that interesting, then do that. But one thing we didn't even talk about today, which is why we switched from Instagram over to Streamyard, was so that we could be on YouTube. We never even talked about YouTube.
That is an option as well. Yeah.
I know. YouTube is brilliant. It's the second biggest search engine out there. It makes a lot of sense to be on YouTube. And I think that it used to be really overwhelming for people to think they had to have a YouTube channel, but we're also comfortable with live streaming and putting video on Instagram and Facebook with Reels. YouTube has turned into that, right? Like there's all these shorts that show up, and my shorts are the ones that get the most views.
Right.
So, absolutely. And then that's just another whole thing of learning. And even during this whole conversation, what keeps running through my mind is there's so much, there's 2 things. It's wonderful. It's fabulous that we have all of these things at our fingertips that are able to catapult us out and have us be seen. But it's also overwhelming and confusing. And it takes a lot of thought and process to do all of it, which takes away from creating art.
I was just going to say, you got to find time to paint. I mean, you can have the best YouTube channel in the world, but if you're using it to sell your paintings and you never make any paintings, what's the point?
Yeah. it's a sprinkling, I think, of all of the things. And just like we find our style in art, I think that we're all ultimately trying to figure out what our style is in how we show up on social media.
Yeah.
What
Agreed.
brings us joy, what makes us happy, what makes us feel safe. And then if we just keep showing up in that way, our people will find us somehow, right?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end this, because that's exactly what we're all trying to do right now.
And there's
Just
no
figure
one
it out.
way to get there. There's
No.
there's as
Yeah.
many ways to get there to whatever, your definition of success is
Yeah.
for artists. So
Yeah. Yep. But you've inspired me to take another look at threads.
And
So
you've inspired me to do the WeWorks idea.
yeah, that
good.
too.
Good.
Yeah.
So
Thank you
try
so
that.
much for
Yeah.
coming on and just giving us some ways to look at things and ideas that are outside of what we're already doing. Like, I just love that you're always so willing to share and invest in us as artists who are coming up with you and also behind you. You're farther along than we are. So thanks for reaching back and bringing us along on the journey.
I don't have to reach very far. You're right there.
Oh, it's great, Tamara. I love it. I love all your information and your
Yeah,
knowledge. It's awesome.
me too. Me too. Thank you.
Thanks for chatting today, guys. I always love to talk with you. And I can't believe we've talked for almost an hour.
It goes like that.
I know.
Totally.
I know.
Well,
anything
Barbara, if you watch this later or
Yeah.
if you're live, we totally did miss having your banter in here. Next time when the patio gets fixed.
I'll go and have an old fashioned for you right now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Tamara. Okay. Keep us
Bye.
posted on WeWorks.
I will.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.